Hey, wifeys.
This is Chanel.
This is Marquita.
This is Brittany, and you are listening to the Young Wives Club podcast.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Young Wives Club Podcast, and check out our link tree for all our streaming sites. Hey, everyone.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
We're back.
Hello, guys.
We're
Thanks for
trying to
tuning
be
in.
Excited and upbeat.
Yes. But let us tell you what just happened.
What had happened was
We literally recorded this whole entire episode, y'all.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. And guess what?
Poof.
It
Be
deleted
gone.
all of our audio files. Gone. So, we're going to try this again. Take 2.
We're not going to take it out on y'all. We're not going to try to
Nah.
make that. We're going to try to make this good despite our frustrations.
Lord, because we was
Yeah.
all ready to cry, y'all.
We
For
were.
real.
I had the gift with the wine in my hand and shaking and sobbing in the chair because that's how I felt on the inside.
Because it was pretty good. It was a pretty good discussion. But yeah, unfortunately, God said no. Try again.
Right,
It
apparently
is what it
somebody
is.
didn't like
Oh,
it.
we ain't say something right. We need to check
Yeah,
ourselves.
something right. Something wasn't right by the Lord.
They was like, you
So-
said too much.
Right.
Pull it back.
All right. Well,
All right. Well,
we
as you
back at
can
it
see,
again.
right? Episode 2, we're going to be talking about is he the one? So, we're going to start off by telling y'all about our dating experiences because, I mean, that it's only fair that we do that. So,
Right.
Start
Might as
from
well
scratch.
just jump
Start
right
from
into
scratch.
it.
Exactly.
so obviously, the 3 of us are married. So, for you out there who may not be married yet or engaged, here's a little story about how we got started.
When you just said it, I just thought about Slick Rick.
Oh.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so ladies.
You start with your dating story first.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
so,
Well, no, y'all's is good. Mine is juicy. So, yeah, y'all start off.
so me and Mike, so am I telling them, like, who
Full
I
on
dated?
story,
or, like,
your
about
dating,
Mike?
like your dating life,
yeah.
how, your timeline. You know.
Okay,
Right.
so once upon a time I was a hoe. And I'm in it. No, I dabbled a little here and there, being fast and whatnot. And then Mike and I, we met each other on Black Planet. So for those who are too young to know about Black Planet,
Oh,
it
Lord.
was...
Stop.
What happened?
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Y'all, we are going.
We about ready to
through
give up on
it.
episode 2.
Y'all about to have to wait a week and just get... I'm about to be like Florida Evans.
Right. My fists are balled up. My fists.
All of us got our fists balled up. We're like, Lord.
Ah.
Look, now all of our audio is peaking. We
Sorry,
in the
y'all.
red.
We all loud. Sorry.
Mike, we sorry. Mike is Brittany's husband. He takes care of our audio for us before we post it. So we just apologizing now because we
Yes.
all in the red.
Yeah, sorry. His,
don't look
his
too
nostrils
happy.
all flared up. So where
Sorry,
was
Mike. Just start
Bring it
again,
on
girl.
down. Bring it on back.
Just
Bring
in
it on
case they
back.
missed anything.
So
Lordy, lordy, lordy.
once upon a time I was a hoe, and I'm in it. Right. So yeah, I dated a lot. Just being fast in these streets. No, So then I met Mike on Black Planet. So if you're too young, Black Planet was like MySpace before MySpace, and it was like a black meetup. And recently, I think like Solange was trying to like reboot Black Planet, which
Really?
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And I want to be like, hey girl, that's why I met my husband.
To be used
But-
in the same way? Or
I
is she
don't-
trying to do something different with it?
I have no idea. I didn't really pay that
I've
much
never even
attention
heard
to
of
it.
that. I mean, her,
That
trying
she
to
was doing
relaunch
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was last year when she came out with her second album.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't
Okay.
know what was going on. But anyway, so we met on Black Planet. We met up in person. And that's when the internet was not as scary as now. Because you don't
No, it's
know when you
different
meet up with
now.
people. Yeah,
True.
they can be waiting for their next victim. So
True.
thank God I had somebody who was genuine. So I met Mike. He met me at work. I worked at the mall. And like I walked to his car. We did, we were in the car talking, and then he kissed me. And then after that I was like, like him.
You didn't feel the zing.
Yeah, I
You didn't feel
wasn't.
the
Yeah.
sparks.
No, so I was like, okay, well, enough of that. So I carried on. Life went on. And a year later, he hit me up, and he was in a rap group, and he was like, hey, do you still sing? I'm like, duh. He's like, well, we won't put you on this track. I'm like, all right, bet. So I go to the studio and I start singing, and his homeboys are like, hey, you can sing. I'm like, confused. I'm like, isn't that what I came here for? I'm so
Right.
confused. They're like, no, the last girl was trash. We about to use this. I was like, okay. So from then on, me and Mike were always linked to, different people in the music
Through
scene at the
music?
time, where we lived, and we were going to open mics, and then he linked me up with his manager at the time, and they were looking for talent. So me and him were on the same management team. We did a mixtape together. It's called Unisex, guys. Look it up. We did songs together, recorded songs together. So me being the aggressive girl that I always been, I'm like, ooh, maybe we should give this another try. And my husband being the nonchalant person, oh, all right. So we ended up dating, and he would come over the house all the time, and I was like, let's keep this on the hush though, because that was like the thing to do. Like all like the celebrities at the time, they would like date each other, and you wouldn't know. And of course, when you're in the
want to
music,
be wanted, like the fans want to feel like they can have you if they wanted to.
Exactly.
They had a chance.
Yep. And his management at the time, they were like, well, it looked like y'all dating, but we don't want nobody to know because it's bad for business. And I'm like, okay. So he would always be at the house. He would write music together. My mom was like, ooh, y'all dating. I was like, mind your business. And so she was like, I know what's going on. You can't fake the funk. I was like, okay. So we got serious, and he got me a promise ring, and we got engaged maybe like a year later. But yep, that's our story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Much more interesting than mine.
No, whatever.
like
Yours
Chanel.
is
Yeah,
cute.
okay, I'll break up the excitement. So,
Oh, you stop.
No.
we met in high school. Darryl was new to my school. He started going to my school his junior year, my senior year, and at first I didn't realize that he was even a junior. I thought he was a senior, just like me. We had we had the same class together, and most of the people in the class were seniors, so I just assumed he was a senior.
He was smart, wasn't
Anyway, no, so we had the same class together. Everyone knew that I was attracted to him, so people would tell him. My guy friends, my girlfriends would tell him, and he claims he didn't believe it because he was a new kid, and he just was like, nah, they've all been friends forever, middle school, elementary school, and he just assumed that, they were trying to set him up. So he was trying to call me for a while, and my mom just wasn't relaying the message as to him calling me, so I didn't even know.
Well, she was blocking.
Exactly. And then he actually, right before we started dating, he had asked me to come pick him up after school. I didn't have a car, but my mom would let me drive her car. So I was like, oh, the boy I've been telling you that I like, he asked if I could pick him up after school. Can I use your car to go get him? And she was like, for what? I was like, oh, because he had detention. She was like, oh, detention? No, you can't go get him. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so sorry, I can't come pick you up. So I don't know if he had planned to ask me then or what, but my mom was like, detention? No, that's not the boy for you. So he called me one night, and it's funny because we had never talked on the phone before. We had just talked in school here and there, and he just like, so are we together or what? That's how he asked me out.
Why does that sound like him?
Right? So he knew that I liked him, so we started dating, and we started.
So were y'all like talking and seeing each other, and then he was like, "Be my girlfriend," or
y'all
didn't go out or anything?
No, we didn't go out. We had never been out. We had never even talked. Maybe talked on the phone. We talked on the phone maybe once or twice prior. And it wasn't just me and him. It was me, him, and one of his friends that were all on the phone talking. So we had never even talked on the phone with each other. I didn't even know what his last name was when we started dating.
That was your future last name.
Exactly. I didn't even know. So we started dating, and then so we started dating in February. of my senior year. So, I mean, prom was soon after. We went to prom together, and then I was off to college, and he was doing his senior year. So,
And you didn't go to prom with him?
Yeah, I went to prom with him.
Oh, y'all went to prom twice?
Yeah, twice. Yeah, so
Oh,
he
that's
went to mine, I went to
cute.
his. And my dad, that's when my dad met him, was right before my prom. But my dad wasn't having it. He was like, oh, okay. What time does prom start? What time does it end? I expect you home an hour after. No in between, no extra stops
Lord.
from there and home, and that's it. So I feel like it's almost a miracle we lasted because we didn't know each other at all prior to dating. So
Yeah, and you and Mike obviously didn't know each other until y'all met, but then y'all had
y'all
a
were
friendship.
friends for a while.
Yeah, we
Before
were
you
like
got back
best
together, right?
friends. It was even to the point that like his friends would link up with my friends, and we would just have a meetup at the clubs on the weekends. Like I always invited him to my birthday parties. I had like tables at the club. Like we hung really tight.
So did you all ever talk to each other about relationships y'all were in?
Oh yeah, like he saw guys that I dated, and he still teases me to this day about different
I
guys.
haven't
I
had
dated.
that. I ran into a girl that he had dated at for a second, but I mean, me and her, it was like literally a second. But I've never had that experience of my husband knowing my exes and stuff like that.
Well,
And
maybe it's
plus,
better
we,
that way.
We started dating in high school. I didn't really have no for real exes. Like, I had experiences prior to my husband, but I wouldn't call those boyfriends. So,
Yeah, I maybe had like 1 or 2, 3 serious boyfriends that I thought in my mind. But hey,
Your aggressive
that's
self.
just me. Yeah, I was just aggressive. Like, this is my
find that
man.
so funny. Like, I don't like knowing you now. I don't see you just
I
going
don't
up to
either,
it and
right.
being like, "You want to be? Yeah, we're gonna be together."
Like you
Yeah.
mine. Like
Oh,
we done talked on the
yeah.
phone twice, you mine, bruh.
I was so aggressive. Oh my God. You probably turned them all the way off.
That's funny. I don't see that being you. Okay,
Um,
Marquita, tell us your love story. How y'all
well,
started?
I actually
And your dating history of,
Yeah.
Yes. So George was only my second serious boyfriend. I was actually dating what I consider my first serious boyfriend when I met George. All right, inserts the story of how I met George. So me and my then at the time best friend, she had a younger sister, not super young. She was just younger than us. Anyway, well, my best friend worked with George, and she used to always talk to us about him in the sense of, oh, I think, like, this guy I work with would be good for Stephanie, and, this, that, and the third. And we'd be like, oh, well, just asking questions about him. What does he look like? Whatever. And she'd always tell us, well, he's not white. He's not Puerto Rican, but I'm not sure what he is.
I thought George
he's
was
something.
Spanish when we first
He
met.
does look Spanish.
Yeah, so me and her sister and my sister, we went to the gym one day. I don't know what we thought
Oh,
we
girl,
was
you
doing.
was at the gym?
Well, I don't know what we thought we was doing at the gym, because we went to the gym and then we went to Golden Corral right after.
Lord.
And that's where we were meeting up with George to introduce him to Stephanie. So that was the first time I had ever seen him. I really wasn't even interested in talking to him at the time. I was just like, okay, he's here. We're here for Stephanie. I have my boyfriend. We were just there so that way she wasn't meeting this guy by herself.
Gotcha.
Anyway, it was very apparent from the jump that they were not
Compatible.
not at all. He wasn't into her, and I didn't even know this at the time, but later on found out that we're sitting right at the table and George is asking my best friend about me.
Really?
I didn't know. I had no idea. We're sitting there chilling. He was never even interested in this girl. A single bit. But so she gave him her number, but was too scared or shy to be like, no, I'm not interested, whatever. So I would text George from her phone. She knew it was just, he thought that I was her.
So was she a cute girl or?
Well, first of all, she wasn't George's type. She wasn't chocolate. So that was the first
George's
strike.
Okay.
He walked in
So-
and was like, "Did y'all not know my
Right.
first criteria?"
First of all.
So that was the first thing. And then she was just kind of immature. So he wasn't with all that immatureness. I mean, she kicked him in his shin.
What?
The first time we all met. I don't remember why. I don't know what happened, but I mean, the girl hauled off and was like, wham, tore his shin up. But
Lord.
That would be a deal breaker for me
Right.
too.
Got to go. Pot to done.
Exactly.
But shortly after texting with him, he realized that it was me. So then me and him were talking. Now, I also want to make it known that even though I did have a boyfriend, we were not in a good place at this time, which is why the doors were even open.
They was cracked a
For
little
Right.
bit, George,
right,
to push him open.
to
Come
just
on, what you
give
say,
him
she'll
that
come
little
on
bit of
in.
attention.
Exactly.
Come on in.
So no, I was not, dating two guys at one time. Even though if you listen to him, he will say that he was boyfriend number 2
I'm so done
But-
that he claims that. I'm done.
at one point in time. But that is how me and George met. So I mean,
He's proud he stole you away. That's
He
all right.
really
He
is.
was talking about that the other
He
night.
really
He was
is.
like, I took that. I wanted that. I was like, okay,
He
George.
said, I get what I want.
Right.
so-
I know that's right.
I mean, that's pretty much the story of how we met. So we never knew each other, never even seen each other before then. And I had been in Golden Corral prior to that. I had worked at Golden Corral. Like, me and my best friend got the job together.
Okay.
So yeah, I had never seen George prior to that.
okay,
meeting.
so with that being said, going the opposite way, what made you like court him and be like, you know what, this gonna be my husband?
Yeah, like how long did you all date before you made it serious? Or like,
Okay, so
Yeah, before-
mine and George's relationship moved very quickly. Well, what made me want to give him, like, even the attention was just because of how he treated me. He treated me good. Again, like I said, my boyfriend at the time was
Trash.
Virginia, acting up. Right? No, he was practically trash, but I was still trying to like hold on to it because we had been together for almost 3 years.
Right.
But I mean, it was just how George treated me. If I needed anything, he had it for me. Even if I didn't express to him I needed something or wanted to go out, he did it. He'd come get me, take me out somewhere. Sometimes he didn't even tell me where we were going.
Aw.
He took me to Jersey and we had a weekend there with his family. And I mean, the man took me shopping. I didn't know. I didn't ask for that. Had no idea. I mean, and then he'd do stuff like we lived in Dover and he did a scavenger hunt around the city.
What?
And at every
is this before
place
y'all
I
got
found-
serious, or y'all were already
No,
serious?
we became official. I think we started talking in January, but we became official on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so and I think don't
That's
me and you
two.
share?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's two. Yep,
So that's
Valentine's Day.
when he officially asked me out and we became official. But yeah, our relationship moved pretty fast. I mean, I got
No,
pregnant.
go back to the scavenger hunt. The
scavenger hunt?
Yeah, because you was going to say something about it.
Oh yeah, so he even did a scavenger hunt around Dover before. I mean, and it was like we had to drive. Like he drove me, and he had taken the time. He had put clues at all these different locations around the city.
That's
he
sweet.
put like little
Oh,
prizes at each
wow.
one. I mean, this man, he went all out, and
I know,
obviously
that's
I didn't
right.
ask him to do none of it. But I thought that was kind of sweet. But
That is.
our relationship progressed pretty quickly because I ended up getting pregnant. So
See, knocked you off your feet.
literally.
See, y'all, that's what happens. You like, ooh, he about to get me pregnant. That's what shortly happened. He
So-
winded down her, got her pregnant.
He did. But yeah, so once
So I'ma hold
we
you down.
once we got pregnant, I would always tell him, we don't have to get married. I'm not going to pressure you into it, although he knew that's what I wanted. But I would just make it very clear. If we weren't married by the time we had the baby was going to have my last name and not his. So I am my mother's child because she did the same thing to my dad. When I was born, I had my mom's maiden name. I was not
Oh,
born
okay.
and given the last name Price. Once my parents got married, my mom, or is it my dad? He had to go sue my mom in court to get my name changed.
Really?
Yeah, so then I was a Price, but I wasn't born a
She
Price.
was like, I
and-
don't play that.
right, and that's where I get it from.
But it's nice to know that George, you were worth it to him.
Right.
Like, because guys can just easily make a baby and go on their
And then
merry
just
way.
be out.
But for him to be like, all right, well, she's having my kid, and I want to do, the service
thing,
and right thing of marrying her
Right.
because she's worth it.
Right.
And look where you guys are now.
True. And it was even tougher for him because his family didn't approve of us being together once
So
we
he went
got
against,
serious.
Yeah, he
When-
went against everything.
Yeah,
but-
I mean, once when we were just dating, and his family thought, well, he's just having fun with this black girl, even though I was not the first black girl, so I don't know what his parents thought he was going to end up
Right.
doing. But I mean, yeah, he even had, his parents stopped talking to him for a few months until after our child was born. So, yeah, it was even harder. But so that was a big deal for us.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was hard for you too to be in a position like that.
Did you all
Yeah.
have a lot of tough times while y'all were dating before you got married? Or was it like smooth honeymoon phase?
No, it was like honeymoon phase
Was
the
it?
entire dating time.
Okay.
Aw.
I guess, yeah, you're dating. What about you? Before you got engaged and married, was it just smooth sailing and just...
I wish, but no. Me and Mike would go for blows verbally. We had some trust issues, and it was a lot. It was very rocky to the point that we had to break up. We broke up maybe once or twice. And again, it was just something about him that I was like, oh, this is going to be my man. So I was like, get it together. Come back.
How long were y'all dating before you got engaged?
Like 3 years.
So
Because I
3
told him, I
years,
was
and
like,
it was,
after
like,
3
tough.
years, I ain't with it. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. So yeah. So how about you?
It wasn't, well, so for us, I feel like we were in a long distance relationship for so long because, so of course I graduated before him, and then, I was in college, he was a senior, but then he went away to college. So he was about 2.5 hours away. Excuse me. He was about 2.5 hours away. So we would only, for the 5 years he was in school, we would only see each other maybe once a month, twice a month if we were lucky, if he, came home more often. But, and then at that time, we only saw each other, like, he would come down Friday night, so I wouldn't see him then. We would pretty much spend the whole day together on Saturdays, and then he was back driving to school on Sundays. So for about 5 years, we didn't see each other. We saw each other like once a month for 5 years. So I feel like we had this long distance relationship, which made things tough because we, would argue. I feel like it was more my insecurities with him being away. He's away. He has his own apartment. He's handsome. I'm just like, he has to be out there doing something.
Doing something behind your back.
Yeah, exactly. So it was more of like my insecurities that would cause us. We would fight like every single day.
Who was that? Who was that?
Exactly, to the point where my mom was like, "Why are you together? I'm sick of hearing you crying. I'm sick of hearing y'all argue." But he was never the arguer. Like, I would be asking, and he, I guess, was confident that he wasn't doing anything wrong, so he wasn't willing to argue back. But I'm just like, no, I don't believe it. You better come up with another story. This ain't right.
Who is that back there? Oh, never mind. That's the broom.
Exactly, right? We didn't, and then at the time, we didn't have
Social
FaceTime
media
and all
and
that stuff. We didn't, it wasn't like social media, so I couldn't be like, angle your camera, let me see who's in your house. Walk in your
Well,
whole
it
apartment.
had to be like Skype and all that. Me and Mike used to Skype all the
No,
time.
I didn't have no Skype.
Oh.
No.
Well, you don't need Skype because we was doing nasty stuff on Skype.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't have none of that. So, and then once he graduated from college and got his first real job, I was on him. I was like, we done been together 9.5 years, and at this point, I'm like, what is the holdup? There's no reason why we can't get engaged now. We've been together this long. Like, we made sure we went through, finished high school, went through college, made sure we both had a good job. And then I'm like, at this point, you have no excuse.
Right.
So you need to just come on with it and do this. I didn't know at the time. I was bugging him that he kind of already had the ball rolling because he had already asked my dad for my hand in marriage. And the day we got engaged, I was actually arguing with him about why we're not engaged. So he always jokes that when he asked me to marry him, I was like, no, don't do this. Because at that point, I felt so horrible that I had argued with him all day that I was like, no, don't do it now. Like, do it tomorrow. Let's start off fresh. I don't want you to do this now.
Now you getting this
exactly,
ring now.
Right.
Exactly. And we were like arguing, and to the point where like he was acting like he was upset. And I'm just like, you don't have no excuse. You must not want to be with me. To the point where he was acting like he was upset. And then he told me that he dropped me off at home. He was like, I was like, I'm gonna go inside and get something. So his plan was when I walked back outside that he would get down on one knee and ask me to marry him then. But then I didn't know. So I went inside and got our dog and put him on a leash and brought him out to go take a walk. So he said when I came out, the dog was with me. So then it was like, it threw it off. He couldn't do it then. So then he was like, oh, well, like he needed tissue. He was acting like he was upset, like he was so bothered anyway. So I went and got tissue. We went inside. He was like, well, let's just go inside and talk. And at this point, I was just like, for what? Why don't you just go home?
Go home, Roger.
Exactly. So he came in and then he was like, oh, I can't find the tissue that you gave me. And he reached in his pocket to try to find the tissue, but he pulled out an engagement ring.
Aww.
And I was just like, no, don't do it. Because I felt so horrible. But yeah, so we got engaged. And then once we were engaged, I feel like we had been together so long. I had waited for this for so long. We got engaged and we moved in with each other within like a month of getting engaged. So now I was just like chilling in my engagement. I was fine being engaged. Yeah, I wasn't rushing along a marriage. My family was like, okay, now you need to start planning the wedding. But I probably would have been engaged for like 2-3 years.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
had
lie.
My parents had my family not rushed this along.
It was the same thing with us. Like we were engaged for like a little over a year because we had to save up financially for our wedding because Mike had 5,000 groomsmen and I had to call up people. Like that's how me and Marquita became friends. I was like, hey sis, what you doing on April 25th?
She said, Mike got all these groomsmen, so I need to come up with some women.
That's how me and Britt got close, was through her wedding. Cause
I thought y'all were close prior to that.
No, like we knew each other and we were getting close, but I was so desperate because my husband had 7 groomsmen. His homeboys from DC. I'm like, Mike, for real, you can't downsize it to 3. No, all of them gotta be in it. All right. Excuse me, Marquita, what you doing on? Because I need a bridesmaid. Like it was, So like financially, Mike said he wanted a wedding. So I'm like, all right. Our parents helped us. We had to put, money in. So. I don't even know what I was thinking about. Where am I going?
No, you were just talking about your
wedding. Being comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really comfortable being engaged too because it took us a while to even get to the point that we were having a wedding and stuff like that. So like you said, I was sure. I was like, well, I can get used to this. I can be engaged for about 2 more years.
Exactly.
Like,
I
already got my man.
I didn't start rushing to, like I said, my family, my cousin even joked. He was like, because we hadn't planned anything, and then it was like April, and I was like, okay, y'all, we're getting married in August. And he was like, why are you rushing? What, are you pregnant or something? And I was like, no, I'm not pregnant, but we just was like trying to get it over with, I guess. Like I wasn't really picky. My friend at the time was like helping me plan it, and she was like, okay, do you want this or this? And I was like, whichever one you think is going to look good, I'm fine. I didn't have any bridesmaids. He didn't have any groomsmen. So it was like really
So
very
it wasn't
small.
even like family or maybe like high school friends that you would even want in your wedding?
So my one high school friend that I was still close with, she was helping me plan the wedding.
Okay.
And then I have like cousins, but it's like I have so many cousins, it was no way I could pick one. So if I picked one, it was either like none or like 6.
It was either all or none.
And that's how it was with my wedding. I mean, I have distant cousins, but my first cousins, those were my bridesmaids because I only had 2. So they were sisters. So I needed people. So I was like, hi, so come on in,
And he wasn't, y'all know him. He wasn't like close enough with anyone at the time to where he wanted them
to be
involved like that. So we were just like, we're going to make it small. Like, honestly, we only had a wedding because we wanted the reception.
Yeah.
We would have just,
and that's on period.
Yeah, we would have just went to the courthouse and been fine with that.
But I mean, don't people do that nowadays? Just go to the courthouse and then have a big party or a reception afterwards.
Yeah. And his aunt and uncle actually married us. So we just did it all in the same location. Nice, small, little wedding. But it was fun. We had a good time. So
Well, I always say mine was a Duggar wedding. If any of y'all know the Duggars, we planned and got married in 3 months.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I had 4 bridesmaids and a ring girl. Is that what they're called? The ring girls.
Flower girl.
Flower girls.
And a ring bearer.
Ring bearer.
And y'all think I'm the one.
And then George had obviously the same amount. But yeah, I
I
mean,
don't think I've ever
ours
seen
was,
any of your wedding pictures. I need to see some of those.
I think my mom has a disc
Okay.
with video.
Like a floppy
or-
disk?
No.
She said disc. I was
We ain't been that long ago
I'm
now.
done.
What do you call them things? A CD.
A
Okay,
CD-ROM,
A CD.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
She has it. She has it on a CD-ROM because knowing me, I might have got rid of it by now had it been in my possession.
Girl, how you gonna throw that away?
I said might. I ain't
She
say I
would
would
have
have.
She was like, this
but
CD don't got nothing written
it
on
would
it.
have been.
Trash.
It would have been at the bottom of the pile though. But yeah, I mean, our wedding was. I always say it was a joint effort. It was not just me and George at all. My grandmother paid for our cake. My grandfather paid for my gown. My aunt paid for this veil that I just had to have, but didn't have the money to have it because it cost hundreds of dollars. So
Yeah,
she
that stuff
paid for
expensive.
that. So my mom's best friend at the time did the decorating and bought all the decorations.
Okay.
And then
So y'all had a pretty good sized wedding.
we did. We didn't invite a whole lot of people. I'd say. I mean, it wasn't huge. It was maybe 60 people.
Now, was his parents there?
But that's the thing. His family was not in attendance
At all.
at all.
Mm.
Yeah, they were just completely
That makes me wanna
object
cry for him.
know.
object to everything.
Well, Mike
So-
too. Mike didn't have a lot of family there because his family
okay.
is not really close knit. So it was majority of my family and a
Yeah.
lot of his friends, and that's why I kind of pulled to the. I mean, now thinking about it, his boys were his family, his groomsmen. So it was
Yeah.
important for
That's
him to
why he
have
wanted
them.
there, yeah.
So now that I think about it, like I'm happy that he had all that. So
Yeah, we did. We were probably about the same. I mean, it may have been a little bit more of my family than his, but his family was always very welcoming to me and my family. So we never had that issue. But with you saying that about your dress and stuff, were you all picky with what kind of, like, you had to have a certain dress and
Yes.
you were spending like a lot of money for your dress?
it was pretty expensive.
Lord.
When I went to buy my dress, the lady, I was like, she was like, okay, when's your wedding? I was like, August. She was like, of this year? I was like, yeah, girl, it's 4 months.
Looking at you with the bruh face.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know people bought their dresses like way
Yeah,
in
way in
advance.
advance.
We
they
drove.
do.
I drove all the way to Pennsylvania, past
Girl,
Philly, where I'm from, to get my
so
dress.
I went online to David's Bridal and I started searching dresses. I was like, okay, it's probably gonna be one of these too. So we went in. I was like, I want to try on these 3, and I think I tried the dress I got. And our wedding, mind you, was very casual, not casual like jeans and
Right.
stuff casual, but like. My husband wore like a tan suit. My dress wasn't a full length dress. I don't know what they call that length, like below, past your knees, but not to the ankles.
I don't
like
think I've ever seen a
T-length
full body
dress.
picture.
Me either of your
you.
dress.
Oh,
no.
okay. So it's like, I think they call it a T-length dress. I don't know. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
not to my ankles, but it was past my knees.
Mhm.
And I want to say it was like the first one I tried on, and I only tried on the second one just to appease my mom so she could see it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll take this one. And then she was like, oh, we have shoes here too. I was like, okay, I'll pick some shoes here.
Girl.
My mom was like, you want a veil? I was like, nah, that's okay. I did get like a little headband that was like,
yeah, I didn't get a
jeweled,
veil. I
but-
got like a crown type of headband.
yeah. And then my mom picked out her dress there too while we were there. And then
Well,
It
I
was
was
in
6
and out.
months pregnant, so
Okay.
I,
It was like whatever's gonna fit
I had
over this belly.
to search for
oh,
a
like
dress that would allow for the belly area. So mine was a like tied up corset, but I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
picky. I can't even remember if I tried on more than one or if I tried that one on. It was just like,
okay,
okay,
it fits
this
the
fits.
belly. It looks good.
Yeah.
Right. Pop
Christian
up, you
like
got the
mom. You
you
know,
know.
make some room for me.
right. But a lot of people say in some of my pictures, like you couldn't even tell that I was pregnant.
I feel like if I
Okay.
remember correctly, when I saw some of your pictures, I couldn't really tell because
Yeah.
you were small.
So
Yeah.
you went all the way. You knew what you wanted, or you just wanted to get a dress
Look,
from
this
that
girl
time?
had a costume change at her wedding.
Apparently, I was a bridezilla.
okay.
I beg to differ.
You
I
had
was
to
not a
change for the
bridezilla.
reception.
Yeah, my really good friend, my godson's mom, she bought me my reception dress because I was looking at it and I wanted it so bad. So out of the kindness of her heart, she bought me it. It was really cute. My
So it was
dress.
like a party.
Yeah, it was a
Looking
short dress. I can show you a picture.
Oh, I think I do remember it.
Yeah, I have my wedding on my YouTube channel if anybody wants to look at it. But yeah, it was cute. I had to get like an actual
videographer and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, I ain't do all that.
I had to get it.
I had a photographer and that was it.
I had to get. Our
I had
pictures
people
were
on their
horrible.
cell phones.
Yeah, our pictures didn't come out that good though.
Oh,
To be
okay.
honest with you, that always makes me like, because we didn't get like the perfect pictures. Like how y'all have that cute picture of your wedding, like
Oh.
that. The picture that you see on our table over here is probably the best that we got, but it was just a lot going
I
on.
felt like the pictures y'all took were pretty decent.
I think it was I.
At least
was
just went
not-
up to
it
your
wasn't-
standard.
yeah, it
No
wasn't-
wonder,
Whatever. But so what were y'all's challenges? Like, cause I mean, for those who are listening and you are engaged or dating, there are going to be challenges. The first year that you get married, maybe up to the third, fifth, seventh year.
7
Yeah,
years.
you
Right.
right. So, what were your challenges, Marquita, since you have been married the longest?
Mm,
And when did they come in?
True.
our biggest challenges was George's family.
Okay.
For real though. I mean, just because they just made it hard. Because I guess they just didn't want George to settle down with someone who was not Greek. But like I said earlier, your son's dating black girls. That's all he's bringing
This was not
home.
the first.
What did you think when he
Yeah.
got ready to marry someone he was going to marry?
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, he's never in his life dated a Greek girl.
Okay.
So I guess that was just like
that was
always
like her
their
wishful
hope.
thinking.
Yeah, that he was just out having fun, and when he got ready to get married, he'd find him a nice Greek girl. I ain't that.
Right.
So that was the challenge with us. And then with me getting pregnant, that was the other challenge. His parents stopped talking to him. Like I said earlier, none of his family was in attendance, even though he has a good chunk of family here in the States. He does still have a lot of family over in Greece, but none of them were in attendance. They were all invited though. But I mean, it was really just, that was our biggest thing, because it was like he had to choose, his family,
Yeah,
or
that's a hard spot.
it was
Your new
me
family,
and
yeah.
his unborn child. So
yeah, that's a hard spot to be.
That
in,
has
especially
to
if
be
they're close.
hard. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, that was pretty much the hardest thing, and it started when I got pregnant. It went through the marriage. Pretty much, I'd say a month or two after Christian was born. His mom started coming
Then
around.
they saw that little baby, and they was
Right.
like,
That's what they say.
can't
Babies are
help it.
blessings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
like to use the term I can't imagine, but I know that had to have been hard for him.
yeah.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, his mom and dad, of all people, just kind of pretty much like, I don't want to say disowned.
But it was
him,
like,
but
and it's
it
probably
was-
hard too, because it was
pretty
like,
much.
for him, it's probably like, wow, was it that easy for you to?
Yeah.
Let
You
go.
know, yeah.
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 And mind you, y'all's
And such an
child is
important
their
time
family.
in his
Right.
life too. He's expecting his first child.
Child,
He's
yeah.
getting married, so
Yeah.
that's an important time in his life. So
Ugh,
Right.
that makes me sad because here I go.
Getting
because
emotional.
right, because like, George
Yeah.
is such a good dude.
yeah.
I ain't gonna cry, y'all. I ain't gonna cry.
So
No thug
us,
tears.
we didn't have that many issues right after the marriage. I feel like a lot of our issues were pre-marriage because, like I said, my insecurities and having a long-distance relationship. And although the 5 years went by quick, looking back, I mean, that is a long time to be with someone when you're not seeing them that often. But once we got married, once we got engaged and got married, I think everything was really good. Like, well, we got married in August and I got pregnant in December.
Aw.
But he had wanted to have kids way before, and I was just like, no, let's wait until we get married. Like, honestly, I probably could have waited another year or two, but I knew how much he wanted to have a child. So we started pretty much trying right away once we got married, and then we got pregnant in December. And I think our issues maybe came in like maybe after like a year or two after our son was born. And our biggest thing was disagreements with how to raise him. And mostly like with disciplining. Like, he's like, no, he needs to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, he's just my little baby. He's fine. I'll do it for him. And, the issues of him feeling like I would undermine whatever he's telling our son. And he didn't like that. And looking back, I get it. Because if he did something I didn't agree with or went off and I didn't think, because my husband's very 0 to 100, I would say something in the moment. Be like, oh, don't talk to him like that. Or, go ahead, son, you can have whatever. And he really didn't like that. And he, let me know that our child is never going to respect him if I can always, like, it's almost like I'm disciplining my husband. Like, oh, no, don't do that to him, and then he gets his way or whatever. So that was probably our biggest disagreement, and even now I feel like those are our biggest things, because he would get frustrated, and sometimes I tell my husband, like, pick your battles with the kids. Like, sometimes I think he wants to just say no to, like, show his muscle, like, I'm dad and I can say no, so just do it. Although I'm like, is it really that serious? Do you really need to say no to that? But now I've learned to, like, whatever he says to them, that's what they have to follow through with. And if I have an issue with it, I bring it to him after, when the kids aren't around. So I think our biggest issues came in after kids.
So how is it, or no, not how is it. So why is it that you were, like, super easy with, like, raising your kids, even though how you grew up?
So
like,
I
your
think,
parents were a little tougher on you.
So my mom was much more lenient. Like, my mom always tried to have the balance, because my dad was super strict. Like, I couldn't paint my fingernails. I couldn't wear my hair out. Like, I would have to wear my hair in a ponytail to school. There was no fake fingernails, no fingernail polish.
Oh, wow.
No watching TV during the week. No talking on the phone during the week.
And that sounds like a religious pastor type
Right.
daddy.
That was just my good old foreigner daddy.
Right.
And he was not playing, like, no after school. Like, I wanted to do sports, no after school activities, none of that. No school dances. I didn't go to a school dance, I think, until my senior year. I went to homecoming and prom. But other than that, no, he wasn't playing that. So I feel like, looking back, some of the things he did, I feel like were good. But a lot of the things I feel like were complete overkill. And I just didn't want to do that to my children. And even now, like, sometimes I call him Leno Jr. because I say he's just like my dad. Like, they say you marry someone like your dad.
Yeah.
And I always said, oh, no, I'm not doing that. He's not like, and it's like, I see so much of my dad in him sometimes, with just the way he reacts. He's, like I said, very 0 to 100. So I feel like I know the feeling of, feeling upset or sad when your parents are upset with you. And I don't want my children to feel that way. That's why I tell him, like, okay, I understand your intention, but maybe your delivery is just, like, he has good intention, but his delivery is bad. So I think that's where we butt heads the most. But at this point, like, all other things, like jealousy or anything like that, doesn't come in as much, because I just feel like we've been together so long and we have a family, and if you're willing to mess it up that easily, especially when I feel like I do a lot to keep him happy,
Right.
I'm like, if you're willing to mess it up now, then that's
Exactly.
on you at this point. But
Sure is.
I try to not be, I know my insecurities get on his nerves, so I try not to let it be a big deal, but I know.
You try not to put it on, like, front. Try to kind of
I try to cover it up a little, but
That's good.
You getting there, though.
I'm trying.
You have, whether you know it or not, you've grown a lot since we've
known each
other. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree.
Good. Well, that's a good thing then. So we've talked about our marriages, our engagements.
You done skipped me.
Oh. Did we?
Yes, we did.
Oh, sorry.
Our bad.
Look, y'all, we did this already, so we heard these stories. So now we're losing track. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, your turn for today.
Okay, so the challenges for our marriage, for one, which I didn't even bring up, which was a challenge. So, like Chanel said, like, they got married in August and got pregnant in December. We got married in April. And after that, I was like, Mike, when are we going to try? When are we going to try? Mike, we need the money. We need the money. Because at that point in time, we weren't making, all that great of an income together. We were struggling. Like, the reason why we had the furniture that we had, some of it was the furniture I already had, living at home. we got a lot of furniture from like my grandparents helped me, my parents helped, and then the wedding, like getting gift cards and money and stuff like
Yeah.
that, kind of furnished our home. So we were kind of like barely making it. We wanted to do like date nights. It was times where we just like did date nights at home. We would cook together in the kitchen, or like he would go out and he'd try like. But besides finances, it did get better and it is better. Finances was one because we weren't making that much money, and I am definitely a spender and he is a saver. So he ain't want to spend then out of nothing. All that whining and dining that we did when we were dating, it was done when we were married.
It
No
do
more throw it in the
change
bag.
No.
When y'all was dating, he
It
was
do
like,
change
"Throw it in
after
the
you
bag."
get
Right.
married.
Now it's like, what's that price?
Yeah.
Put it back. So, yeah. So, besides finances, fertility was a challenge for us because we started trying for a baby. We got married in April. We started in October.
Yeah, I feel like we started trying
Yeah.
the same time we started trying for our second son is when you started trying.
Yeah. We started, and the first time that we tried and nothing happened, something in my mind was like, something's not right. And then Mike kept telling me, oh, well, you know, I work with somebody and they're like, it took them almost a year to get pregnant. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that is not acceptable. Like, I was
Yeah.
not trying to hear that. I'm like, no. It's so many people. At this point in time, everybody that I knew had kids, going, or maybe even going on like the second kid. I'm like, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Like, we should be getting pregnant. And then come to find out, to make a long story short, because they didn't know what was going on with me. But the OBG that I was going to at the time was telling me what I was going through was normal. I'm like, this is not normal. I'm not supposed to be bleeding in between periods.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
that don't make no sense.
Yeah.
I had to change my doctor for them to be like, oh, well, you have polyps on your uterus. This is why you're not getting pregnant. So it was just, like years of just diagnosis, procedures, and all this other stuff to the point where we had to see a fertility doctor. And it's just now to the point we know, like 4 years later,
Yeah.
Right.
why we're not getting pregnant.
Right,
So
right.
it's been a trial.
Yeah.
Um,
That could be
but
a lot of stress.
yeah, it's a lot of stress. But Mike has always been there. Like, he even promised me. I was like, Mike, if we can't get pregnant, are you still gonna love me? Are we still gonna be together? And he was
Aw.
like, no, it's fine. I'm here with you. So like that made me feel good. But it's times that I've been like sobbing in
I'm
our
sure,
house,
yeah.
like loud, and Mike just be on his game. I'm like, because I was just frustrated. I was not getting pregnant.
Yeah.
So like Mike has been a trooper the whole time because I know it has to be hard for him too.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah.
he
So
wants kids, so.
that was a challenge, and we had trust issues dating, but after we got married, trust issues were out the door because I believe in second chances, and I was like, look, if you mess this up this time, it's on you. I'm out.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
you don't have to give me an explanation. I'm gone. So just see my tracks.
Yeah.
But
See the dust.
yeah,
Or the
watch my
smoke,
dust,
whatever.
right? But communication also, we didn't really know how to like deal with things like after we got married, and with his temper and my patience, it just wasn't working. And we actually had to see counseling, and it helped tremendously. And my biggest suggestion is, if you are a Christian and you go to church, go to a Christian counselor,
Oh, okay.
because she prayed with us, she talked to us, and like it was really good. And it literally was like day and night. And so we're able to deal with little things and don't be petty
Right.
and stuff like that, and don't go to bed angry. So it's just like a breeze. And sometimes I'm like, well, maybe this is what we needed before we had kids, because that was always me. I'm like, I'm not having kids and they see us arguing and
Right,
doing all
right,
this. Like,
yeah.
that's not.
And I think that was
Yeah.
another thing too with me with growing up. Like, I saw my parents arguing. Well, mostly my dad arguing. So I didn't want to do that. And when my oldest son was young, we had gotten into an argument, and he probably wasn't even a year yet. And we were like just going back and forth and arguing, and we turned and looked at him, and he was just sitting on the bed looking at us like he was about to start crying. And I just felt so horrible because he had never seen that before. And it just made me remember, like, this is what I used to
Yeah.
see, and I
Right.
don't want, my child to see the same thing. But it's interesting that you say with the way you all argue, because my husband was never an argue back. I was pretty much arguing with myself. because he was just like, no, I'm not arguing about this. I feel like now we've kind of switched roles where, he'll be like, what's bothering you or what's wrong? I'm like, no, nothing. It's good. I'm fine. Like before, if something was bothering me, I had to get it out. I had to tell you right then. You was going to know something was wrong. But now I'm just like, I don't really feel like arguing. So if it's not a big enough deal where I feel like I really need to tell you, then I'm just going to keep it to myself and just keep it moving, which is probably not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've always, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I've always made a mountain out of a molehill. So now I'm trying to like check myself and be like, is it really worth arguing over? Is it really worth making a big deal over?
Yeah.
Because he will silent treat, and I'm like, do I feel like dealing with that right now? And I've even suggested to him, because about possible counseling, but he wasn't open to it. But only because
people never are, and I want people to get out of that mindset.
Yeah,
like you don't have to be crazy.
I feel like he just, when we argue now, if we have a disagreement now, I don't feel like he really hears me. I feel like he hears what he wants to hear, and then like I go through this whole long spiel of having a conversation, telling you how I feel, and then at the end of it, like we summarize the argument to come to a conclusion. And I'm like, what? That's what you got out of this? That is not what I said. That is not what I said I wanted you to do. So but I think we're getting better with that. So
all right. So our episode is called "Is He the One?" So we need to give our wifeys some red flags. Like, what are things that like things like if you see this skirt, keep it moving, girl. So
or if we were dating.
Yeah.
What would be like a red flag where we'd be like, no, I'm not tolerating that.
Yeah. So for this day and age, if he don't have no car and a stabilized job as to start, no. Keep it moving. Nope. No. Everything else, I feel like you can deal with. But no car, no job, that's an absolute statement.
Or even if he has no car and no job, and he don't look like he trying to progress to that,
that's
then
true.
no. But if maybe something might have happened, maybe he did have a job and something happened, he lost his car, he didn't have no money, but he's working toward it, then maybe. But if he just living at home and lay on his mama's couch with no car and no job, no.
Yeah. But then on the flip side, if maybe he just works, but he kind of like busting trains, that's all right too.
How you gonna come pick me up on a bus?
Maybe, but he got to be like working towards getting a car,
fancy Uber,
right? Because you're gonna be the Uber. So yeah.
I think
you gonna end up being an Uber.
I think for me, it would be like if you being real sneaky. Like,
True.
I don't want, you don't need to have no two phones. I feel like I hear a lot about people having, like,
two phones.
Yeah.
No, what you need two phones for?
Well, no, because now they're even getting slicker with it. They're just putting two lines on one phone.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that.
I've heard of that before, yeah.
Oh, no, I don't like that. And especially because I feel like I'm open and understanding enough that I'm like, we don't have no reason for that. So I'm just like, nah, I don't want that headache.
Right.
So I'm just like, nah, I don't think I would be able to tolerate that.
So you need to be reliable, responsible, and you can't be out here sneaking.
And be trustworthy.
And no baby mamas.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And the guy could be really good dad. Kids could be good. It might be the baby mama that's crazy. And if it were me, I'm sorry, that would just be a deal breaker.
Yeah,
period
maybe
for me. If you got a child,
I'm like, maybe I don't want. Maybe I'm just not open enough because I don't think I can deal with it either.
Yeah, because I don't want to deal with the baby mama drama.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very rare that I hear somebody say, they get along. There has to be women out there that are.
I'm sure. I wouldn't give a guy that
enough.
chance though.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be something. Oh, you nice, you cute, you got a car, you got a good job, but you got two babies.
Yeah,
It don't matter to me. You can have one baby mama, you can have two. It don't matter. I don't feel like dealing with her when she found out how bomb I am. Just saying.
So y'all know our IG. We're gonna put a post up. Tell us what your deal breakers are and what you think are like really important in this day and age.
And
for
how
a
you know
relationship.
that he's the one. What do you
Yes.
think?
Yeah, what do you think
Exactly.
your criteria are for being the one? So we're going to do a quick little game called Build a Man.
We like games.
Ooh.
So we are going to build a man today. So we're going to do this because we did this when we recorded this previously. We did this 2 ways. First way is we have $10 max to spend on building a man. And here are the criteria or the characteristics
And how much they cost.
So $1 for romantic, $5 for good sex, $3 for wealthy, $2 for nice body, $2 for a good listener, $2 for reliable, $1 for does chores, $1 for doesn't argue, $2 for a good cook, and $3 for a good personality.
Okay.
Okay, well, I know my $10.
Okay,
worth.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
I
Let's
know
hear
my
your
$10.
$10.
Okay, so $5 for good sex,
Mm-hmm.
$3 for the personality, $1 for romantic, and $1 for doesn't argue, because George will argue back. George
So she
will.
said, if I'm building you, I don't want
Right,
that.
I don't want that.
Okay.
Okay.
Brittany,
So definitely good sex.
$5.
Right. $5. Wealthy.
3.
That's 3.
$8.
So that's 8.
Mike, you hear that?
Romantic, definitely. And then doesn't argue.
Doesn't argue. Okay.
Does Mike argue, though? Mike is always so in chill mode.
Yes, because, no, y'all see him in chill mode, but he will argue.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to say good sex, so that's $5. And since y'all just heard my story of me telling my husband what I feel and how I feel and what I want, and then he come up with a whole different scenario at the end. So I want a good listener because he don't be listening. So that's $7. And then I want a good personality. Because I'm just going to hope that if we have good sex, there's some romance in there somewhere.
Right.
Fingers
Okay.
and toes crossed.
Exactly. Exactly. And then now we'll just do our top. What are our top picks for what we want in a guy? Ideally, I think I would want romantic, good sex, good listener, reliable, and a good personality.
I will go with romantic, good sex, wealthy, good listener, reliable, does chores, and doesn't argue. Oh, and the good personality. I pretty much want them
So,
all.
right. So, yeah, I'm definitely overdrafting my account. So, romantic, good sex, wealthy, good listener. He got to be reliable, doesn't argue, good personality, and good cook.
Okay. You want him cooking up the meals.
Yes, I think that's sexy
Okay.
to cook. Even though I love my
Alright.
Well,
husband.
we made it.
To the end of
again.
episode 2 again.
Again, episode 2.2.
So we're going to now transition to our wifey weekly boost.
Yes. Guys, this is the cool down.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and say this quote before we end. This is going to be the Wifey Weekly Boost. And we're also going to be posting this on our IG. So make sure you follow us on Young Wise Club
Podcast.
_podcast.
True.
Yes.
On IG, yes.
Yes.
_podcast.
So, the quote of today is, eventually, you will meet a man who's tired of the games too, and his loyalty will match yours. And that is unknown, but I feel like it had to have been a black woman because it had a little sass. So, period. Yes. So I feel like that's how it is when you get serious with somebody and y'all on the same page. Y'all gonna be done with the games.
Yeah.
Like, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that way too.
Yes.
So just be patient, ladies.
Hang in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your man is coming.
You find
He's
happiness
coming.
when you're not looking for it.
Yes.
Exactly.
So pray to God, tell him what you're looking for, and hold tight. Or
Don't
the
be-
universe, whatever you do.
Yes.
You know.
Just don't be thirsty.
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, try not to be aggressive because that was my tactic.
Turning the men away. They
But
don't
if
want
you know what you want, go after what you want.
Yeah. But yeah, he's definitely coming. Hold tight. You got time, and love will be there knocking at your door.
Until next week, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.